Ois Gimel. So the Shail is what's Ad Havai Likecha. So Ad, he established in Ois Aleph is Hakbala, even at its most sublime level, its limitation. But Ad is also Meloshen Voed Nitzchius, which means that Nitzchius is a Chibur of Gvul and Bli Gvul. Because when you say Nitzchius, you're implying time. But you're saying the time is eternal. Whereas those things that are fundamentally, essentially true are beyond time, like true ideas. They're not nitzchias. They don't endure forever. They transcend time period. So anything which can change, even as it's not nitzchias. The past, if the past is gone or no longer, because it's changed, then that's not the gather of nitzchis. So it concludes that the unit of nitzchis is the chibur, it's the fusion of time and not time, gvul and bli gvul. We'll soon see l'chore much greater depth than that. V'hinei sheresh v'hinei skalas gvul and bli gvul kvisha besvidus. So the source of the escalators of the fusion of gvul and bli gvul as it is in Svirus. And higher even than Svirus, which he doesn't identify. That's basically Zohar Malchus. But higher even as it is in Shemes is Yichud Havai Velikim. What is this? Havaya indicates beyond time. Shuhu, three words fused in one, past, present, future as one. That's from the Zohar. Past, present, and future. All fused in one word. And they're all constant. The letter Yud indicates the constancy of it all. In diktuk, a yud in front of a word makes it ever present. Now, going on. Now, it brings in Tanya. She says, Tomit kolayomim. This indicates lack of limitation. That's what Shem Havayim. Mashenkin Shem Alikim. Shem Alikim is boundaries. First of all, it's plural. So if there's a plurality, there's already a start and a finish. And plurality implies limitation and division. He said to him, moreover, not only is there plurality, but moreover, Shalikim b'gematria teva, Elikim is b'gematria teva, v'tev meloshen tuva ba'oret shorea. Teva is, as the pasuk says, her gates of the Beis Hamikdash sunk into the ground. The loshen is teva. Shali, why doesn't he bring it from Tuba v'Yamsuf? Why go to a pasuk in Eicha and there's a pasuk in Chumash? Perhaps it would appear because that he wants to bring out the inyan of elikus concealed in nature. That's the conveyed more directly in the inyan of the Beis Hamikdash. It's gate sinking into the ground. I'm just suggesting an answer. At any rate, the point is the chayes eliki. Nitva mechusa ba'dover agashmish mechasala is sunken and covered by the davar gashmi that covers it. Shezeh tachlis akbola for the course can be concealed and contained by gashmius. That's the absolute limitation. That's elikim. But then there's in of yichad havai and elikim. Kamoki meshta yina yichad havai elikim. Question is bodily, yeah, like we said before in the Maimat Mitzovim, the previous Maimer. Right, the Zohar, that the whole Avodah is the Yichud Havaylikim, the Kulchem, and with the Pratim. Rashaychim all the way down to h'tשכ. What is the Tachlis Avodah? Shezayin na Yichud Blikvul Gvul. So here we're speaking about Yichud Gvul, the unity of Gvul and Blikvul, being in Hashemus, as it is in the Shemus and the of Eibish's revelations. So from there, Nimshach. No, let me say something here. And from this Yichud of Havaylikim, as it is in the Eibish's names, in other words, within the divine, Nimshach HaYichud B'Gvul Gvul Gam B'Nivroim. This exists by divine desire, tzadrotz and alien, also in creation. We see it in creation. Where do we see the prati? Now more detail. Where do we see the yichud, the gvul and bligvul in creation? Sheyesh na yichud, the bligvul b'nivroim baruchim. First of all, we see it in ruchnis de kenivroim. How so? K'muva betanya, he brings in Tanya Mashakosa, the Gemara in Chagiga points out the contradiction. Ksiv, one pasuk says in the Iyov Vayesh Mispal Gedudov, is there a number to his troops, to his hosts, referring to the Malachim? Ksiv, in another pasuk, Daniel says, Elef Alafim Shamshuni, thousands upon thousands serve me, and the tens of thousands kadmoyu stand before me. So there is a number. Answers the Gemara, not a contradiction. The Meshana in the Gemara answers, Elef alafim mispek gdud echad. Thousands upon thousands is the number of one gdud, one troop, literally, one group. Avla gdud of in mispa, but the groups themselves, they're in mispa. They're numberless. Meaning, the Hainosh in the Yesha call gdud b'mispar mugbal, even though every gdud is a number. It's a number of malachim, thousands, tens of thousands. In the Gdudim also means a camp, as in God Gedud Yudenu, troop camp. Same idea. So the Gdudim are Blikvul. These Gdudim themselves are endless. So this is one illustration. So it's the fusion of finite and infinite. Each gdud is finite, but there's infinite number of these gdudim. More so, we're clear. We see this also even in our world. Again, this is not mitzvah teva mamash, but this, as I said earlier, mitzvah derotz and the alien, as a reflection of the Eibishter's yichud havaylikim. Where do we see it? He was a great Italian Makubal. Not mistaken, the ayin stands for Avadia. No, don't think I ever think Avadia. So he was a big Makubal, and who says as follows. Not mistaken, the answer is why the Rambam doesn't mention in the Yisodis Hadas, the foundations of our faith, that the Eibishter is eternal. I'm going to say that. He says because it's implicit. Kadman means that which is primary, before which there's nothing else. So the primary cause has to be eternal, has to be ever present. So since the Eibishter is the Kadman, so I think I'm not mistaken, that's part of the context there. His implicit, therefore, is his nitzchias. So he phrases this in the Rameh Mifano, Pano. So this is, it's a place in Italy. What's it called?
Azaria.
Huh? Azaria. Okay. Hope you heard what he said too. So Shebachal Kadman who bevade nitzchi. It's a klal. If you say Kadman, that means eternal. Aval b'chlal nitzchi and Kadman. By the way, that the reverse is not true. That nitzchi, eternal, doesn't mean primary. because there are many existences by divine rule that are eternal and they're not kadma. It's a mitzias. Sound.
Because of the
right.
Otherwise, there's nothing. It's the
right. Yeah, but it exists. But none of them are primal. That's the right word. The primal, the ultimate origin. They created nothing, something from nothing. They have a beginning. So what is he saying? Let's get the flow. So in the Elam Agashmi, he's trying to say this gvul, but the gvul can be nitzchi. They're not kadmoinim, only the Eibishter is the only ultimate kadmon. But they are, mitzad rotz and aboyre, they are nitzchias. For example, k'manyin azman. Time. It has a beginning. The fact that it has a beginning means it's limited. Haino, which would mean by the nature of time should be that it should end. It should be spent ultimately. There's a number, a specific number of hours and moments that have passed since time began. This is all very, philosophical stuff. Emes requires us to learn in depth all the sources, but we'll get the general idea, superficially at least. Which means literally the book of inquiry and philosophy, writes, anything made up of parts, it has to have a beginning. Obviously, right? The origin is transcends parts, just is. But if it's made up of parts that come together, then it has to have a beginning. The Yashlei Mispan has to have a number. And the conclusion is, therefore, that numbers cannot be truly infinite. One cannot literally describe or imagine or conjure an infinite number. It's a concept, but it doesn't exist. It's a theoretical infinite numbers. It's a statement, but there's no tzir, obviously. It can't be a tzir of it. It can't be a tzir. Huh? Yeah. And so therefore, since time has a beginning, and it's made up of parts, so there should be an end to it. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to be a physicist or a scientist, but one of the proof of creation is the expansion of the universe. It's the biggest hechach. There's the beginning to it. There's got to be a starting point, and it started. Eternal expansion. It's not expansion. It's just what's the raya? The sun actually is. The sun is expanding, I think scientifically, is it not? And the opposite, it remains unchanged. Akoponim, the fact that things are moving away from each other, the theory of the Big Bang, I don't think actually it's current anymore. Things have been replaced with other theories. But Akoponim, I think it is observable that things are expanding, the universe is expanding. So this points to an original moment. So there should be a limit to time. It should go on and lengthen for such and such amount of time. And then it should end. literally play itself out. It's behechach, it has to be, because it's made up of finite parts and has a beginning. It doesn't only because it will be. Hashem grants it this eternal quality, but that's mitzad ratzon habayra. Shall yufsak la'olam, should never stop. Shazayin shall bligvul, that's bligvul. Conclusion: in Elam Hazeh Hagashmi mitzad ratzon habayra, the time. What about Chad Chruv, Elef Hashvi? Well, it doesn't say time will end then. It just says the lashon is that all will be destroyed. Ayin leiros elikim zelasecha. No, I saw but God alone. But it continues. Whatever it is continues. So that is mitzad ratzon habayra. You say to Mizu. So moreover, this is like you don't see it now because you look at time now. You'd expect it to end. It won't because God doesn't want it to. But moreover, we can actually see this in our world. Shegam achshav yeshna kechag bli gvul benivroim. Where do we see that? We see the infinite in finitude in creation. It says in the Risham in the pasuk, Eile told it Shemayim v'aretz b'bottom. These are the chronicles of heaven and earth when Hashem created them. It says the Rishalmi, Shem chazokim k'yoyim b'bottom. They are strong now as the moment they were created. So I think it's a diak in the pasuk. B'bottom, if I'm not mistaken, is like a present tense. It should have said Shemaim v'ha'odet shenivru, that he created. B'bottom in his creation in present tense, implying that they are strong now as they were when they were created. This is referring to the sun, etc., the celestial. There is no hefsed, there's no loss, literally, no diminishing. The nature of diminishing is that that's a process that begins the very moment the thing starts. From the moment of its appearance, in essence, it's in the process of disappearing, of breaking down, of diminishing. The famous statement of the Bechaya, a child, the moment that he's born, begins to literally wither or dry. Even though this, it's expanding externally, but essentially it's breaking down, approaching death. So its entire existence, it's really a journey of diminishing till it disappears. Now, since the earth, the physical world, and heavens are as strong as the moment they were created. So here's a creation where there is no hefset, no diminishing. This is because Hashem's will that granted creation. At least the earth itself, not the creatures on earth, but the earth itself, and the sun and so on, this property of nitzchis. This is because of Hashem's will that He grants it nitzchis. Even though nature itself is by nature finite and changing, subject to change. It's the will of Hashem, the Creator. There exists within creation. Shemayim v'aretz b'ligvul. Okay, now, as we said before, this whole thing began. The Shadish is the unity of Havai Likim. From that, that's the origin of the fusion of bligvul and gvul in creation. Yeah, we're clear somewhat. Yeah, we continue. Let's see what's coming. This is not the true yichud. Why not? It is. Nitzchis of Zman, Nitzchis even of Mokim, Oretz, Shemayim, certainly the Malachim Lamaila. He says it is not, because the Hine Amitis in Ayichad Vavalikim Boshlikim Yiye Kermei Havaya Mamish. Not that Elikim endures forever, as it were, but Elikim itself, the infinite itself becomes, the finite itself, a moment in time, in other words, itself becomes timeless. Not that there are endless moments in time. That's what he's going to say. The true yichud is that Shem Elikim doesn't conceal it all on Shem Havaya. Meaning in Shem Elikim itself you see the bligvul. But the whole inyan of Elikim should be that in the finite itself is nitzchias, not that there's a whole endless string of finites. For the Gemara says, "B'chibur the bligvul gvul," and the parallel in the chibur bligvul gvul means shagvul atzma yeh b'chinas bligvul. There's a moment in time is forever. That's true bligvul. That the gvul itself is bligvul. That even though he's in a moment of time, but that moment is forever. That's true fusion, not endless moments. So till now we explained that time goes on eternally. What do we say till now? Time is finite. The day and the year is gevul, and it's past and gone. It will continue. There will be another day and another year. There's no infinite time. Each moment itself, as we described it till now, is finite. You keep on adding, each one still remains. This piece, this is interesting. He says in potential. Before he was saying it was like imposed, the Ratzon Abbeire. Now the implication is that it's this Bekech in Zman itself. I don't know. Behind the Shina Bligvul or Akbaasa, the Bligvul is only, let's see, Bekech in potential. I mean, God can do it. Maybe it means that. Bekech that the Eibishter can say, you know what, another moment. And it's only borne out. Let's see what happens. Only on faith do we know the time will continue, because data tells us. But he's saying logically it should eventually unravel or be spent, really. In the kind of bligvul we're talking about now that the Eibishter does, each moment is hakbola. That's not the true chibur, therefore. So like we just spoke about time, like Shemayim V'Aretz. Shem chazakim k'yem yibara. On the one hand, they're strong as the moment they were created, and there's no what's the word? There's no breakdown. What's the bligvul? They're not decaying. They're not breaking down. Celestial beings, the sun, etc. It's all finite. So there too, it's not the true fusion. And not only that, like the Malachim, which the first illustration, the highest one. The spiritual creations, true to each group and each camp, there's no number. But I call but each camp has a number, thousands, tens of thousands. Conclusion, and all the aforementioned Ifanim. Nasa chibur the bligvul gvul rak ba'ofen. What kind of fusion do we speak of? Shagvul eine master legambri la bligvul. That the gvul does not completely eclipse the bligvul. Ala nirge sheyesh baze gam inyan shel bligvul. There's the sense that it's bligvul because, hey, it's unchanged. But it still is gvul. It points to bligvul, but it is not bligvul. The infinite property is not in the matter itself, the time or the shemayim v'oretz. The gvul remains in its limitations. So what is that? So that has also a sheirish l'mayla, this kind of fusion, which is not the tachlis, and that is the Gemara said by Yichud Havaya V'Leikim Shakabola L'Shem Leikim Eina Mastira L'Gamri. What kind of yichud? And that's not the tachlis avodah, which it would appear only Yidden can achieve. So this is a yichud that the Eibishter does, pointing us in the right direction, as it were, but not the tachlis, because what's the yichud of Havaya V'Leikim, the way it is mitzad creation? So the Akbol of the Shem Elikim me'ena mastira legamri. Elikim does not completely conceal. Elenirgesh yesh gama bligvol l'Shem Havaya. It's not opaque, and it allows us to see the bligvol of Shem Havaya. Avladayin yesh Akbol of the Shem Elikim, but Shem Elikim is Shem Elikim. Keli is Keli, Gvul is Gvul. Ubembele, this is not the Tachlis HaKavona, the previous Maimar Nitzavim, to my modem ago. The Zoya, that the whole thing is the Yichud of Vayalikim. It doesn't mean this. Ein Zamitis HaYichud of Vayalikim. Shaboifen Shem Elikim, that is only the Shem Elikim. Shuhu, what is the Kavanah? Sorry, what is the Kavanah? Boifen Shem Elikim Leirak Shein Master Legamri. Not only doesn't completely eclipse the truth of Bligvul, Ela Oidzai Shein Master Klal Al Shem Havaya. It doesn't conceal it all. There's a master legamri, but to some degree it does, because it's still finite in its own world. The true yichud is it's not mastered at all on Shem Havaya. Why is the Shem Elikim? That the gvul itself is there to express the bligvul within its gvul. And this is a whole higher level of fusion, such that the gvul itself, in the gvul itself, you see bligvul. Not in the endless string of them. Oh, this goes on forever. But each moment is a finite moment. No, the tachlis avodah is that each moment itself is eternal. For that matter, you do a mitzvah with a davar gashmi that's also eternal. That's the tachlis ha'avodah, and that's what he's going to explain now. We'll go a little bit further. Yeah, and we're going too fast. No, we get it or we don't get it, but the mind is pretty elaborate. Yeah. You know, a physicist, as I said yesterday, someone understands all the latest theories in time, etc. And learn Chassidus would be a fascinating lecture, I'm sure. Beyond my ken, no doubt, but it would be fascinating. What is time? Yeah, obira inyan de hinde benegela bligvul dan evroim aruchniim. So with respect, as we quoted earlier, the infinite spiritual entities, we quoted the second answer. There's another answer in the contradiction of the Psukim. One pasuk says, is there a number? Another one gives a number. So we gave the second answer. There's a first answer. Is there a number to his heavenly host, to the camps? Answer, that pasuk that's talking the time of the Beis Hamikdash. No, there's no number. And the pasuk that says that 1,000 serve me and tens of thousands stand before me. What's the kavayochel? It doesn't.
not
Huh?
an expert.
I'm not sure where the word goes. Kishenismata pamalia shamayla. Maybe a kavayochel doesn't flow that way. At any rate, so as it were, what happens is, since there's no Beis Hamikdash down here, so this compromises Lamaila, and the Pamalia, the assembly above, is lessened. So it's all totally what this is pointing to. It's totally to Aveda down here. So according to this, the meaning of, is there a number to his host? Now we're going to see that's the chiddush of the Beis Hamikdash. That in every, this is a true blikvul, that in every chelik, every detail, every finite moment is a nirgish to blikvul. I didn't look further, but I would imagine it's Makam and Einem and Amida. Yeah, concludes the ice with that. Okay, so we'll Be'ezer Hashem. When do we learn next? Friday morning, Be'ezer Hashem.